How's it going, everyone? This is the commentated version of the March 2020 Awakening event, the Hell's Hound Chaos. This recording is being done in post, but I am also watching along my own recording just so I can try and keep in time with everything. So firstly, before we start, let me explain my team options. So we have Ferris to function as a Dispeller. The Cerberus boss with his recast ability and just overall behavior, it will get a lot stronger and a lot deadlier with active buffs. So that's what she's here for. There's Zack to do Zack things, take damage, deal out a lot of damage while not taking a lot of brave hits himself, as well as his last stand ability and also his natural HP regen. And then there's also Pinello, because honestly, Pinello I wasn't so sure about in terms of the buffs that she could give. Yes, she gives very good buffs, but she also gives a lot of them, and Zack already gives a lot of his own. So there are going to be a few occasions of Zack just having too many buffs and not being able to properly take advantage of Pinello's. But I think the main reason that I wanted to use her here was because of her free turns and such, like going from her EX to her like her HP dumps. So I just thought that that would be very helpful here. And then for the summon, I have Leviathan, because the Cerberus's recast ability, it deals AoE HP damage and it's distributed damage, so it's not like a full hit. But because the HP conditional is only 80%, I figured that's actually super easy to hit, and you'll see that it was, which gives all of the party members an extra framed buff for Brave regen that doesn't have a timer. So once it's on, it's active for the whole fight. And then for the friend, we have Aranea, because, you know, Aranea things. With that, let's get started going through the recording. So the two enemies in this fight are the Cerberus with the recast ability and the Pinello mannequin. The Pinello mannequin does normal Pinello things, brave attack, HP attack. She can also do her two dances to give buffs to herself and the Cerberus. The only buff that will apply that you should really worry about is the HP regen, because it will the Cerberus will recover like 90,000 HP a turn, which, as you can imagine, kind of ruins a lot of your progress. The Cerberus mostly has brave attacks, but the HP attacks it does have are pretty annoying. As I stated earlier, there's the recast ability, which deals AoE brave hits, AoE distributed HP damage, and it will also dispel you of any non-framed buffs. So thankfully everyone in this team has at least one framed buff, but everything else will need to be reapplied, as you would imagine. And then it also has this move called Tri-Head, where basically it's one of those annoying immediate brave gain into HP moves. And when before it does the recast ability, it's not too bad to deal with, but after it does the recast ability, the Cerberus will give itself a triple buff, where basically it just starts doing 3 moves at a time. And as you'd imagine, if you're not able to properly deal with either those brave hits or the Cerberus having too many buffs, then you'll end up just taking a lot of brave damage. And there are times that the last move it'll do in that triple chain is actually Tri-Head or Trio Head, whatever it's called. So yeah, it's rather annoying. So as you can see here, after the first recast ability, I managed to time it, or rather, I guess just have the Cerberus have enough bravery that it was able to get all of my characters past the HP conditional, so then they all got the frame buff. Ferris here is doing her standard cannon fire plus dispelling things, just to get rid of all the buffs on the Cerberus. Again, Pinello, or rather my Pinello, doing Pinello things with Intercession. I believe there are times later in the fight where using Intercession was pretty vital to getting the Cerberus's bravery down low enough after it managed to get a hit. Another useful thing with Ferris here is that off her EX cast, for 2 turns, or I guess, how should I phrase this? She gets a unique effect that will last for 2 of her turns, and then anytime an enemy acts, it'll cause that whirlpool effect, and it basically just does brave damage to them, and then distributes all that brave as a battery to your own party. So it's a good way of having an off-turn way of dealing with enemy bravery. One thing to note here is that if you kill the Pinello mannequin, as you saw earlier, it said defense increased. The defense increase is at times very substantial, so if you don't have enough attack buffs or attack auras, it will get harder to deal brave damage. That's one reason that I was having fun with this team, because there's just a lot of regen from various sources, so I hardly needed to worry about any of that bravery. Or rather, needing to do brave hits. Thankfully though, with Zack's auras and Pinello's effects, there was still plenty of attack to go around, so everyone was still doing pretty respectable damage. Not to mention the dispelling effects from Ferris's skill too. In my initial runs of this fight, I was trying without, either without a Dispeller or without a tank, and I don't exactly know how the Cerberus is programmed, but it seems to be, it seems to try its very best at doing this attack, doing its triple variation, ending with Trio Head, and in a bad situation, it'll usually gain enough bravery, because Trio Head is one of those moves where it'll gain bravery no matter what, and then do an HP dump, and usually it would kill someone, so I was getting a lot of frustration before I ended up doing this team. See, it did it again. Thankfully, Zack's bravery shield is enough to not take any brave damage from the initial 2 attacks, thus keeping the Cerberus's brave pool pretty low by the time it does Trio Head. As you can see from the recast ability, it's a lot less of a pain to reapply buffs after, or like on the turn after it casts it, rather than on the turn before when it's filled, because obviously those buffs will get dispelled from you anyway. If I'm understanding the Penelo Mannequin AI correctly, it'll always try to buff first with haste, and then it'll apply regen. So technically, you could get away with having it apply the haste, but you need, or rather, you want to try and deal with it before it applies the regen. So in this scenario, if you know how Zack's Last Stand passive works, it only will properly function if he's above 50% HP at the time of him taking the HP attack. So I'm... yes. Yeah, here we go. So I needed to cut another turn using his additional ability to make sure he had enough HP, even though I was using Apocalypse, but I wanted to be extra safe. Thankfully, Penelo's regen is very good. If you're noticing my skill counts, I still have a lot on both Zack and Ferris, so that goes to show how much the Brave regen from Penelo and the Leviathan's Blessing is doing. Oh, and then also not to mention Ferris's unique effect from her EX. One thing I wish they'd do is, especially as something important for tank type characters, is if they had a another bar color for the HP bar when you're at, or rather, when you're below 50% HP but above red HP, which is like what, 10-20%, just for a bit more precision. So this is funny. You can the Cerberus can miss the first parts, but still get the HP hit. I'm like, hello, why does that work? I guess it counts because it's like 3 separate attacks, but considering that it lists all the attacks in the same text box, my initial thought was, oh hey, all of them should miss. No, you're still gonna get hit by the HP part. Here, thankfully, I had Intercession up to get Cerberus's HP, or rather Bravery, down to 0 after that. Oh yeah, and a fun fact, since we're at the end of the video, you don't need to kill both of them. You only need to kill Cerberus to end the fight. And with that, this fight is over. Thanks for listening to the commentary. If you were interested in it, I will try and improve on this if it's something that you guys want. Alright, thanks. See you in the next one.